Unmute and we're going. Great. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first 3D bootcamp of the year. My name is Chelfe, and I'll be the teacher taking you through the introduction to Blender today. Together with me, I have my wonderful online assistant, Christian, who's going to be helping with Mac questions. And I have Mito, Wave Mito, who's also going to be helping you guys here live. And Greg is also going to be helping. He's waving from over there. He's going to be helping you guys who are sitting here running around. If there's something that they don't know how to help with, I'll come over and help. Don't worry. I'm also streaming this out live on YouTube, which is why I'm staying here put and I have all this set up. It's great. It's wonderful. So yeah, welcome to Blender. For you guys who are here, you already have this set up, but just look closely to what I'm doing right now for when you want to set this up at home. The first time you open up Blender, you will be met with this quick setup screen. And you don't really need to change a lot, but you have this spacebar function and there's no reason for it to be on play. It's a lot more useful for you if you have it on search from the beginning. So, and the reason for this is because play is shift space anyway, but search is F3 or F4 or something like that, and that's a bother. And if you're beginning, it's really nice to be able to like just hit space, search for whatever function it is you're looking for. That's going to help you. Next thing you want to do is click next. And now for all of you who already have this set up, you'll be met with this screen. This is the startup screen. It will come every single time you open up Blender. It'll show you recent files out on the right-hand side, and then if you want to create a new file type, out on the left-hand. So we're going to choose the new file, Blender. Yeah?
We just want to fix your audio.
Oh, my audio not good?
If you go to your mic, I think the channel is set to only one place. We need to have a dual channel.
Well, is that because I have the microphone on only one side?
No, it's not you. No, it's the Casa Puntain channel.
Okay. Sorry, everybody. We are having technical issues.
The wireless go is there. Recording tracks, stream tracks, test of audio.
Refresh.
I can try one thing down here as well. It might be this guy.
All right.
It shouldn't be this guy. There. Actually, try it now.
Hello. Is this working?
Yep.
Yep. Looks like we got dual channel. Great. All right. So we're going to pick the new file type. This will load us into a scene with a camera, a cube, and a light. So let's just start off with a little bit of basic navigation inside of Blender. Oh, just quickly, I'm just going to set something up here. You do not need to follow this, but it's so that you can see my keys, what I'm pressing. There you go. Yeah. Doop. Boop. See here? Now you can see what I'm pressing. Make it a little bit bigger so that everybody can see what it is. And you don't need to follow this. This is simply, I need it so you can see what I'm doing. All right. So inside of Blender, we have our 3D space. That is our object mode. This is our 3D area. And we have our outliner, and we have our properties tab. Today, we're mostly going to be working inside our 3D viewport, so that's where we're going to be focusing. To navigate around 3D space, we use our middle mouse button. We click and we hold, and this will allow us to orbit around inside 3D space in any axis we want to. If we hold down Shift and then middle mouse button, we can pan back and forth. If you do Control middle mouse button, you'll zoom in and out smoothly. This can also be done with the scroll wheel, like just scrolling on the scroll wheel, but this is done in steps, so if you want a more precise, more smooth, like zoom, you should use the Control middle mouse button. And the last one we have is Alt middle mouse button. If you drag that, it should snap you to what's called orthographic view. Orthographic view is something that only exists in 3D. It is a view without perspective. And it's quite useful for some things, but we're not really going to use it today. It's just nice for you guys to know that it's there. All right, so if we left click and hold down, we can draw a selection box over everything in our scene. And now we're going to press delete because we don't want it there. We want to start off with something completely clean slated without having to worry about any sort of history or prior things that have happened to it. So we're just deleting everything. Then we're going to press Shift and A. This will bring up our Add menu. In here we can add anything we really want. But we're going to start with adding a mesh and then a cube, because this cube we will turn into a barrel. Just getting everybody. Yeah. So this barrel we can now manipulate. When I say manipulate, I mean we can move it around in 3D space. We can do this by pressing G. That is the grab function. And this will sort of just move it around 3D space. We can also lock it to the different axes we have inside 3D. If we press X on our keyboard, this will lock it to the X-axis. Z will lock it to the Z-axis. That's the up axis. It's the only one that's not visible. And Y will lock it to the last one. Yes, question.
What? 1 second.
Yes.
So somebody was asking from the chat, what do you do if you don't have a middle mouse button?
Oh, all right. So that is, if you don't have a middle mouse button, you can go, that's a niche question, but yes, you can go into Preferences, and you will have a place, so I don't use this because I have middle mouse buttons on everything. And you can find a place that is called Emulate 3-button mouse. Where it is, again, I don't use this feature, and not a lot of people do, sadly. Yeah, there is a place called Emulate 3-button mousepad or 3-button mouse, which will
one answer could be if you use Alt key, you can emulate the middle mouse button. It says here, using the Alt key, you can also do that. And one last question was someone who was asking how to get the cube.
Okay, so getting the cube is Shift and A. That will bring up the Add menu. And in from here, under the Mesh tab, we can add a cube. So, all right.
And again, if anyone has any questions, just put up your hand. I'll come over and help out. So
Yeah.
You've got everything else, but I'll help get you up to speed and such.
So we finished with the grab and how to move things, right? So if we press S instead of G, that is the scale tool. This will allow us to scale things up and down. And the same rules apply to it, that we can scale on different axes by pressing them, so X, Y, and Z. And if you don't like what you're currently doing, you can right-click to cancel. Or if you've left-clicked and accepted it, you can Control-Z to go back and undo. All right. And the last one that we won't be using much today is the rotate function. This means we can rotate things in 3D space. Now, if you're used to a different software, you'll notice that instead of rotating with the axis, you're rotating around the axis. So to center somebody's asking online how to center the cube after you have moved it. Either press Control-Z to get it back to undo your move, of course, or out here in your Properties tab, you can set this location here. You can see this is actually just moving. If you mark all 3 of them and then press 0, or set them to 0, then that will reset it back to the world origin. There you go. All right. Ah, there it is. Thank you, Frederick. Your cube is see-through, likely because you've pressed Alt-Z. And that turns on X-ray mode. So just press Alt-Z again. or if it's completely see-through, that's because you're in wireframe mode. And to begin you with, you can just go up here and turn them. Yeah. Yes, exactly. All right. So now we know how to sort of navigate around 3D space and how to manipulate things.
I'm sorry, Chad.
Hello. Oh, my mouse is being stolen from me. All right. All right. So what we really want to do is we want to manipulate this cube into becoming a barrel and not a cube. We can't do that from where we are right now because we are in object mode or layout mode where we can just sort of move things around, we can rotate them, we can scale them, but we can't edit them. So we need to get into edit. Oh, okay. So we need to switch to edit mode. We can do this by pressing tab on our keyboard. This will bring us into edit mode. Or going up in the left-hand corner of your 3D area and switch to edit mode. This will allow us to manipulate the different parts of our cube. So in the beginning, we are in vertex mode. Vertex mode, or vertices, are these small points. They are points with location on them. That's all they are. So the only thing you can do to them are moving them. If you have one selected only, you can only move them. You can't scale them. You can't rotate them. You can pick two, and then because you're going from the median point between them, you can now rotate and scale them in relation to each other. Because between two vertices, we can draw an edge. And edges are just edges, and we can manipulate them as if they were two pieces of, or two vertices, right? And we switch between vertex mode by pressing 1 or 2 to get into edge mode. And the last one, if we have 3 or more edges, we can make a face. A face is the visible part of 3D. Faces are also known as polygons, or just simply as geometry. And I might switch between polygons and faces. Hopefully you won't get too confused. So yeah. All right, so to begin with, we're going to grab our top face, the topmost face of the cube. We're going to press G and Z to move it upwards. Because as we all know, barrels are taller than they are rounder. So we are starting by turning our cube into a rectangle to sort of get the shape. All right, just letting everybody catch up. This G Z, and then move up. All right. So out here on the left-hand side, we have a bunch of tools. Some of them we will be using the hotkeys for, but this specific one we will be going out and picking because it works differently when we pick it than when we use the hotkey, and I prefer to pick it. We're going to pick the one called Loop Cut. It's this little cube with a green line over it. Oh, Alt-Z. Oh. Yeah, you went into wireframe mode, I think. So, yeah. Mito's busy. Greg?
Yeah. Greg is seeing more people.
Oh, bother. Yeah. All right. So, with the loop cut tool selected, you can see that now I'm getting this yellow line over my cube, and it's going in a loop around my cube. There, and then over there by afterwards. Yeah. All right, so we're just letting people catch up. There's a few issues here and there. So everybody at home, how are you doing? You enjoying your first foray into 3D? Oh, bother.
Yeah, just one thing actually. I just want to shout out to all the great people in the chat actually helping out some of the rookies here. That's going to be Frederik Tierdyr, Sector 30, Refraction, Nils Danger, and Galaxy Aster, who is being absolute champs helping people out when they have a few issues, and that's absolutely amazing. So yeah, it's yeah, and people saying good so far, and people saying thanks, and Cetra is pointing out drinking tea and waiting for the next step. So
Yep. I'm with you.
Cheers to that one.
All right. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to make 2 loop cuts on the vertical faces of our rectangle, like so. So now we've divided all of the faces into either 4 or 2. We've just split it down the middle on 2 axi. We're going to press W to get out of our loop cut tool, because we're done with it for now. We're going to get back to it. Don't worry, it's a wonderful, wonderful tool and we like it. And now you can see we already have 1 loop highlighted. But we want to have both of them highlighted because now we're going to round out this shape. So we're going to press Shift, because this will allow us to add to our selection, and then Alt, which will allow us to select an entire loop cut. So Shift plus Alt will allow you to select a loop cut, and then you can add to the selection afterwards. So now we have these edges, the central edges, the ones we just cut. And what we're going to do with them is we're going to scale them. But we don't want to scale them in all 3 axes. We only want to scale them in 2 because we want to round out our cube. So we're going to press S to get scale, and then Shift Z to exclude the Z axis. And now we can scale it out. And there's no precise value for this. You're sort of allowed to just find whatever looks round enough for you. I was going to push mine a little bit further. Yeah, there we go. All right. Yep. Yeah. All right. Now we're going to press 3 to go into face mode and select our faces. Now we're going to select the top and the bottom faces at the same time because we want to manipulate them so that they're symmetrical, right, on the Z axis. The top and the bottom are the same, so we want to manipulate that as the same way at the same time. So holding down Shift, I can click on faces to add to my selection. After selecting these faces, I can press I to inset, and this will create a new ring of faces around our selection and allow us to inset the selection. Oop. There we go. Just checking because I did something. Nope, I'm good. Selecting here, here. There we go. So our top and bottom should be symmetrical with the inset that we just made. And now we're going to use extrude. Now extrude does sort of the same thing as inset, but it's not locked to the faces you have. So you can go outside the bound of your faces. But right now, what our extrude is doing is it's moving in the same direction. That's not very symmetrical of it. So when I hit E, before I left click to accept, yes? Inset? Yes, I can repeat the inset, don't worry. Here we go, repeating the inset. So selecting top 4 faces and the bottom 4 faces by left clicking and holding Shift. Now I'm going to hit I on my keyboard to inset. And now we want to hit E for extrude. But before we left click to select or to accept the extrude, we want to hit S and Z to lock our extrusion to the Z axis. What this will do is, like with the vertices I was showing before, it's taking the point in the middle of them. So when we're scaling inward, the two faces are now, or the two selections are now moving towards each other instead of away from each other. So they are symmetrical again. And this is really nice. You can now see it's going out both ends. Yeah. All right, we're good. So where's everybody from at home or online in chat? I know we have some statistics, but who cares about that? I want the chat to tell me.
A question earlier, Chelfe, regarding where people are from. We had a lot from Denmark, from Norway, from
Denmark,
Romania.
Norway.
We had one person from Transylvania.
Transylvania, wow.
Yes.
That's far away.
Sarajevo, Bosnia.
Oof.
Sweden. What else do we have here? Germany. Another from Sweden.
Wow.
Estonia.
Swedes
Helsinki.
listening to a Dane. Who'd have thunk?
Yeah. From Iceland as well.
Yeah.
So the ones from Sweden, Iceland. Big hub from the Deer Park in Denmark.
Oh. How
You go back
lovely.
down, we had someone asking a question, I think it was about the hexagon.
Yes.
Oh, we have a whole new string of comments. Okay, great. Everybody answered you here as well. So this is Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, 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 Iceland, Denmark, Germany, Sweden, Denmark, Sweden, Estonia, Finland, Denmark, Italy. Ciao.
Hot damn,
I
we
think
got
that's
a far
Croatia,
reach today.
Lithuania. Something hurts a little bit. I don't know what hurts a little bit. I'm sorry. We have someone from Ireland. What is hurting from? I don't know.
Hot damn.
I think. No, it's because you said it hurts. He's from Sweden, so
Oh.
listening to a Danish person is.
Yeah, no, that must hurt. I know,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Ireland. And the person before asked, it doesn't look just protrude, but looks like a funnel. What was the question about? How do you make the hexagon again?
How do you make the hexagon again?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just quickly, I'll just do this for you guys here. Somebody asked, how do you make the hexagon again? So I'm just quickly gonna go over that on a new cube and show you guys. All right, so what I did is I took my loop cut tool here and I made 2 loops on the X and the Y, or the vertical edges. Press W to go out of my loop cut tool. I keep pressing Q, but that's because I have Maya in my fingers right now. And I held down Alt Shift and to selection, and then S Shift Z to exclude the Z axis from my scaling, and I scale outwards like that. All right. So now we have a cylinder with a lip at the top. I feel like we should also make a lid for our barrel. And do tell me if I'm going a little bit too fast, both at home and here. Yes. Yeah.
We could use that. If you wanted to make it, if you wanted to make it spherical.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Oh no, I mean the top part. Turning it from a square into the.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. If you want to do this, so you have the 2 axis cuts, loop cuts we've made here. You press S and Shift Z, and then you can scale outwards to get the hexagon shape. What?
Extrude also. Extrude.
Yes, extrude. What is about the extrude?
Somebody's asking about that.
Oh,
Did that one, right?
well, I can do it again. I don't mind.
You do the steps for the extrude. Oh.
All right. So for the extrude, I selected both the top and the bottom. I pressed I to inset it, so we get the little lip on the barrel, like this. Then I pressed E to extrude, and then before I left click to accept the extrude, I pressed S, Z, to lock the extrusion to the Z axis, and this will allow me to extrude both the top and the bottom at the same time and scale them towards each other. All right, so that's how we do the extrude. Oh, nope. Boop, boop. All right, so we have the lip of the barrel, but we want to make the lid of it again. And this is pretty much the exact same thing we just did. So we're going to press I to inset again, but not a lot, just a little bit, just so we have like a border between the lip and the lid of it. And then we're going to press E, S, Z, and instead of scaling inward, we're going to scale outward, like so. And it's okay if the lid is like inside the barrel or also goes a little bit outward. It just adds a bit of character. And yeah.
There's a question saying, can you explain why extrusion happens towards each other when you press S?
Yes, so extrusion happens towards each other when you press S. So when you have something selected, you are, by default in Blender, manipulating things from a median point, which is the point between your selection. So when you have two things selected on each their side of an object, and you then start to scale inward, they're scaling compared to each other, and then we lock it to the Z axis, of course. So that means they're either moving towards each other, toward the median point, until they meet 0, and then they're just going to stay flat, or they're going to extrude away from each other. It's also important to note that scaling, is not, it's a multiplier. So if you have no value in the scale, you actually cannot scale. So if I only pick my top 4 faces here and I scale on the Z axis, nothing will happen because scaling is always a multiplier. It will only always add, it cannot create new value. It multiplies with the value already existent. So if I took a 1 vertex there, so now these faces are not flat, and I started scaling in the Z axis, it'll start looking like this. It'll start actually scaling because every one of them has value in the Z axis.
Right. Gator is asking, when I want to select the faces on top and bottom, I accidentally always select one of the side panels also.
So you always select this one. You can hold down Control and then left click to deselect. All right. It's a good thing I planned these things with a lot of help in it. Yeah, go on. So you press I to make another inset. So it's the same thing we just did, but we're making a lot smaller inset. So I and then pull it inward. You don't. As soon as you press I, you don't need to left click. When you left click the I and press I, or when you activate a tool and you left click, you then accept the edit you've made. And then E Z. Yeah, E S Z. Oh yeah, but it's move. So yeah, so it looks like it's scaling in the Z axis, but it's actually moving in its local Z. So that's why we press S to change it from move to scale. Yeah.
Matthias Mertz is asking how to control set a few steps, so I missed the lid.
Oh, the lid. So the lid is just the lip, but instead of scaling inward, we scaled outward. Let's see how far I can go back here. I only think I have, oh, there, perfect. So here, I for inset, E, S, Z to scale outward, like so. And this needs to be a quick one. Like, some of you guys are good. Some of you guys, it's your first time touching blenders, first time touching 3D. It might take a little bit of time. I've made hundreds of these barrels at this point, so I'm very quick at it. And that is because I have years of experience. And honestly, you'll reach that one day as well. Yes. Yep. Yes. Scale outward. So move your mouse the opposite direction than before. Oh, you don't have the bottom selected. So, like I showed before, if you don't have, if you just have something that has 0 value in the scale you're trying to scale it in, it cannot scale because it's only a multiplier. It will only times the value with itself all the time when you scale things. So you need to select both sides, so you're scaling from the median point instead. Yes. Yes, and now it should work. Oh, E. Greg, can you take that one? Trying to make the lid of the barrel. All right. You already have one on top. You need to delete that one. There you go. Great. Yeah. Any more questions from online? It can also be questions about, like, is there anything like you want to know about the school or about 3D in general, working with it? All right. All right. Cool. So if we have made the lid, now it's time to make the bulge of the barrel. So we're going to make like the roundness of the middle part of it. So we're going to go back to our good old friend loop cut. And we're now going to make a cut on the horizontal faces, like so. After we've made the cut, we can go out of loop cut. We're done with it. And then we can press S and scale it out. We don't need to lock this to any axis because it has no value in the Z axis, so it will not scale up in the Z axis. So we can just scale on it freely. And feel free to make this a little bit exaggerated because we're going to smooth it out in a second. Boop. Yeah. Because now what we're going to do to this is we're going to make a bevel. And a bevel is sort of like an extrude, but instead of creating a new ring of faces around your selection, it's going to create a ring of faces inside your selection. So if we press Control and B on our keyboard, we can now split our one edge into more. Now, before you left-click to accept this, if you scroll on your scroll wheel, you can add divisions to it. This can also be fixed afterwards, but it's just quick to do it like this. S, and scale it out. Yeah. What? So we got. So this step, or subdividing. So Control B for bevel, and then before left-clicking to accept the bevel, we can scroll on our scroll wheel to add extra divisions to the bevel. This can also be fixed after we've accepted it, but it's just a lot quicker to do it like this, and getting into good habits in the beginning. Huh? Scroll på scroll wheel. På midtermusetast. Yeah. This can also be edited afterwards. Let me just check that my cam is not in the right place. So if we left-clicked and accepted it, we have this little menu down here, and this will be for most tools you use. You will have this little menu in the left bottom corner that you can open up. And this will also have your segments, how many divisions you have on it. It will have the width, and it will have everything. It will sort of have everything you just did, but telling it to you in specific numbers. For some people, that's really nice. I am more the type of person who does like, oh, I feel like this is the right thing. Like the artistic feeler person, which I know is super annoying. All right. Do we have online classes? So right now, we do not. So our school is physical, and apart from Bootcamp, we don't have online classes. We do have this thing called 3DE that will be released later this week, or later this month, and it is for people who signed up. They will get like an introduction. This is to prepare you for 3D. Oh, okay. Yeah. It will also be available for purchase, I'm being told. And I hope you'll enjoy it. So. Yeah. All right. I'm just going to close this down again. Cool. So we have this bevel. And technically, now we have a perfectly acceptable barrel that would work for most computer games circa 2009. Times have changed a little bit, and we can add a bit more detail to it. We can add a bit more polygons, a few more faces. It's going to be great. I'm going to press 2 to go into edge mode. And then I'm going to select my 2 middle edges, and we're going to make the bands, those metal bands that go around barrels. So we can select them, press Control B again, because we want to bevel. But this time I'm going to remove my divisions, because I just want these faces like this. I'm going to left click to select it, or to accept it, sorry. All right. Looks like everybody is sort of with us. Yep. Up. All right. Yeah. So, Christian, how's it going? Christian's just turning on his microphone so he can chat with me.
Yeah,
how's it going? You're doing animation on your second semester right now.
I am. We're actually doing. It's what you would say is baby steps within the animation worlds.
Yes.
And before Christmas, we were doing rigging, kind of making. We were making a game character, where we were kind of giving it a skeleton to make it move around. But now we're actually bringing it to life. So we're doing walk cycles and running cycles, and it's. I have the utmost respect for the animators all out there who's doing this. But it's absolutely amazing to also see such a simple as a bouncing ball coming to life and give it a personality.
It is. And we will also be touching upon animation in 3 weeks' time here.
That's correct. So it's amazing. And also, I don't know, you're not seeing this Chelfen, but there are so many people in the chat who's helping out all the people who's asking questions about how to.
That is wonderful. That is one of the great things about Blender. Like it does truly have a strong community that is like here to help as much as possible, and it's brilliant. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing also to see just like people with all who is super expert about this, and also newcomers meeting together here in the chat and then just like helping each other out. It's
the way we should all learn.
Yeah,
we should get better together.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm seeing a lot of bands around the world, so there's a lot of chatter. All right. So with our new bands selected, we could extrude these out. but that would create a different problem for us, which would be that they're a part of the geometry that we've already made. Instead, we want to have these as a separate object within our barrel. So we're going to press Shift D to duplicate. This will just duplicate the faces and allow us to move them freely. Now we don't want to move them out, we want them to sort of stay in their position, but we do want to scale them again. So we're going to press S, Shift, Z, so they don't scale in the Z axis. We're just going to scale them a little bit out. Like this.
You just duplicated them, right?
Yeah, I just duplicated them. Shift D. You should know that, it's the same in Maya. Nope, S. Just press S right away. All right. So now we have the bases of the bands, but we have this weird negative space between the bands and the barrel, and we want to fill that out. So we'll press 2 to go back into edge mode, hold Alt down and Shift, and we're going to select the top and the bottom of the bands. Top and bottom. There you go. Now we're going to press S, nope, sorry. We're going to press E, S, Shift, Z. A lot of hotkeys, a lot of letters, but it will allow us to scale inward. Now, it doesn't actually matter how far you're scaling inward on this. Getting things to meet perfectly, like if you put something on top of your hand or on top of a table inside 3D, is such a precise and time-consuming thing that nobody does it. You always just have things penetrate a little bit because that's easier and it looks the same.
Did you extrude in?
I extruded in. So instead of spending time whenever you're trying to make things that touch each other, just have them penetrate, because it will look the same at very least and will save you so much time. Can you imagine if we had to zoom in here and make sure that our bands don't touch our barrel? I have done something weird to mine. Wait a second. I scaled on the X and Y, so E to extrude and then Shift Z, S Shift Z. Yeah, so you were in face mode. You got to be in edge mode and then select the top and bottom edges. Yes. And then select the top and the bottom here. And then we're going to press E, S, Shift Z to extrude inwards. Boop. But yeah, like you can see how like it's trying to get these two things to meet is going to take so long time, and it's not going to create a better result than me just going boop and having them penetrate inside the barrel. Oh, I've had something selected on the bottom. Oh dear. All right. So
there is a question.
yes, questions.
Also, just
Yes.
There's
a question.
How do you center the object with the camera?
So because we're using Danish keyboards, we have a comma on our numpad. It will probably be a dot, but if you do that, that will center it on your selection. I'm just fixing this. So yeah.
And
there we go. All right. Yeah. What's up?
So we had some more question, which was having faces and edges penetrate. Doesn't that ever intrude other problems?
No. It used to, but it doesn't anymore. So it used to create problems with a face's normal, but the way things are displayed and rendered nowadays, it's practically non-existent issue. The only times you will have issues if you are working on things with IOR, you might have issues with it, but that is niche situations. Yes.
And then one more question. I don't know if we can do that, but somebody's asking if we can redo from the middle bevel thing.
From the middle bevel thing. Well, I can do like this and then go back to this thing. There we go. Middle bevel hole. So I created a loop cut, scaled it out, and then from here, I pressed Control B to add this middle bevel. Then I selected my two middle edges and beveled them again, but without subdivisions. I duplicated these and scaled them on this X and Y axis. I'm just redoing things. What's up? Did NDI froze?
I think so. On all the screens, or? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like NDI froze. No, not over there, but over here. Yeah. All right. 2 seconds. We're just having a little bit of technical issues. Let me try and reset this. Oh, there you go. I just got a notification that says I have reestablished connection. Yeah. I lost connection. I did. Yeah. So from here, I'm going to press E, S, Shift, Z, and extrude inwards. So now we have the bands of our barrel. All right. So here's a little bit of a quirk with 3D. Corners in 3D are sharper than anything in real life, which means they don't catch light the same way things in real life do. So if everybody here looks at the table, you'll realize that there's like this little corner, and that catches light. And if we don't have that, or if we don't have that in 3D because 3D corners are super sharp, you can see that the lip here disappears into the top of the barrel. To avoid this, we can bevel all sharp edges like this, like 90 degree or even things like this, by holding down Alt and then Shift selecting these edges that we know will, or that might disappear into each other. And we can do this on the top, we can do it on the bands, and we can do it on the bottom, like this. And now we can press Control B. We can just add, not a big one, just a little bevel. Because what this will do is catch light and reflect light that will allow us to differentiate surfaces from each other. They might still be the same color, but now there's a border between them that's a bit of a lighter color. All the edges that are like sharp corners. And then I pressed Control B and just made a little bevel. Yep. All right. So, and this is purely because 3D corners are sharper than anything is. Because this is virtual, it's digital, and real life things, even if you have extremely sharp things, will always have like a little bevel, but 3D things don't unless we give them the bevel. So we need to make sure we have that bevel to catch light. And it also makes our objects more readable for the viewer. And that's, in the end, what we're trying to do. We want to have a viewer look at our product, at our objects. And I'm just, to show this off, I'm just quickly switching between object mode and edit mode by pressing tab. All right. Yep. So this is the base shape of our barrel. Yes. Oh, so you have selected all the vertical lines. I've only selected horizontal lines. So you two, the ones that are highlighted now on my screen, those used to just be one edge, like the different ones. These. So that will, if those are the ones you're selecting, then you bevel those and that will differentiate in your light. Yeah. So I held down Alt and Shift. So Alt will allow you to select edge loops. And if you're having the edge loops being selected in like a undesirable direction, it's because, let's see here. No, can't get it to do it right now. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just holding Alt and Shift. So Alt will select an edge loop, but holding down Shift will allow me to add to my selection. No, I haven't. Yes. So I haven't done it for the vertical faces. I've only done it for the horizontal faces. No, we will get to those in a minute. Don't worry about it. So, yeah. All right. So we have created the base shape of our barrel right now. And for most things, this will probably, like if you're doing something for a computer game, this will likely be enough. You wouldn't actually make something more highly poly than this. You'd fix it with textures or with shading. Now we're going to get into shading in 2 weeks, but we do a quick little trick here. And that is if we select our barrel, but in object mode, so hit tab to switch between edit and object mode, we can hit our spacebar and get our search function up and use this for the first time. Now we can press or type in shade, and you'll see you have shade flat, and that is what we have right now, where you can see every face is sort of shaded together, or not together, they're shaded separately. What we want to do is we want to shade them together. Sorry, I have shortcuts set up and I can't do that. We want to shade smooth. This will have the faces try and blend in between each other. Now this will make some things look a little bit wonky, but we can now see that our barrel, the main body of the barrel, is actually looking a lot rounder because it's interpreting light between the faces instead of separately. We can also go in if we want to do this individually for faces or for edges. Like I can take this edge and I can shade it flat. Balls, gotta stop doing that. And then that will actually be hard when I go back into object mode. And this is just telling the Blender how to shade things. Yes. So what I did is I went into object mode by pressing tab. Then I went to pressed space to get my search function up. And I typed in shade, and then I found the one called shade smooth. And this will allow the faces to blend between each other and their smoothing. NDI crashed again? Wonderful. That is not great. I wonder if this will help in any way. Let's exit this. So we got NDI over there, we've got NDI over there. Your NDI still crashed? Okay, great. Great. Oh, so you hit tab. Yeah, so that's the last thing I did to like edit things. And then you hit tab. to get back into object mode, press space to get into search, and then type shade smooth. And this will allow everything to sort of blend together. Yes. And that's where we are right now. Det er fordi, din er sat op forkert. Okay. So, somebody here in class has their Blender set up for space being the play button. I'm just going to quickly show everybody how to change that if you haven't changed it at home. We go up into Edit, Preferences, and we go into Key Map. And then here, under Key Map, you can see you have spacebar action. You can turn that to search. And that will change that. And I think for beginners, play is not necessary. The search function is so much more necessary. It's really good for beginners because it doesn't only tell you like what is it you're looking for. It's also telling you the hotkey for that specific function. So if I type in inset, you can see it's I. Oh. Here, if I type select some faces, inset, then it will tell me inset faces is either Control F . Yeah. Did that work? Yeah, and then it's shade smooth. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, that's a bit weird.
I think it's because we have more computers on. I got them turned off. So
yeah, okay.
Maybe that's my help.
Maybe, hopefully. Yeah. That's working. There you go, yours is updated. There you go. All right, so if we were doing if we were making this for video games, we wouldn't go further than this. This would be enough for that. But if we're making it for movies, we can actually take it just a wee bit step further. If we go into our Properties tab out here on the side, let me just move my webcam, then we have this little spanner looking thing. This is our modifier properties. In here we can add procedural actions, I think is the best way of saying it, procedural modifiers that will work. It's not actually editing your mesh, it's just doing something to it visually, which sounds super weird when we're already looking at something, but it's not a permanent change. It's just, oh, here's what it looks like if you do this. So if we open up the Add Modifier tab, we can find the one called Subdivision Surface. And this will smooth out everything a lot nicer. So what this does is it takes every face and divides it into 4, and then smooths down the value, sort of like with a bevel, between those faces, and gives us this really nice round smooth effect. What working with modifiers also allows us to do is go back and edit the way our barrel looks without the modifier. So you can see here, if I press Tab and go out of object mode, I can still see the smoothed version, but I can select my faces from the original version, the low poly, the low counted faces. And this will give us a very nice round, smooth result. Yeah.
India goes again.
Yay.
I'm just wondering what we do if it keeps happening. Is it getting worse?
I don't know. Is anybody uploading something? Because it might be a bandwidth problem. Can it be Streamlabs that is taking more than OBS? So, all right. Yes. Come with the question.
Awesome. So we have one in the chat asking if you would recommend auto smooth in Blender?
So this is a bit of a difficult one for me because I don't like automated functions. I don't actually like this one either. I don't like the subdivision surface. I don't use it. It's not old school because even old school had auto smooth. I feel like I give up too much control by doing this, so I would rather do it by hand. Which is, it doesn't make any sense, but it does definitely, it's the whole thing. If I'm doing something procedurally or if I'm doing something automatically, I'm giving up control over the result, and if it's not what I want it to be, I can get angry at the tool or the modifier, but in the end, it's my own fault for choosing to use an automatic tool instead of using my hands and actually just doing it.
Yeah. Also, we have one thing. What version are you on with your Blender, or is it
3.1.2.
3.1.2?
I know there are newer versions, but this is the one we have unified around the classroom. It should be at very least.
Yeah.
So,
And then two more things. This is not a question, but more a flat out good point. So it was, I'm about to put H.R. Geiger out of his job with this monstrosity I just made.
yes,
And I said that we are massive fans of H.R. Geiger here at the school. So
we are. It was a fad started by our old teacher, but it sort of lives on in spirit at the school. We like H.R. Geiger. We like his artwork at very least. There's some controversial things about the person, but
absolutely.
we like his artwork. We're big fans. It's amazing. And I mean, you could definitely do some H.R. Geiger things with this.
There we go. And the last question here is, what are the upsides of using Blender over Maya?
It's free.
Perfect.
So here's an interesting thing, and it's sort of a thing that I get grumbles about from my friends in the industry, because my point of view on this is, if you know 3D, you know 3D. It doesn't matter with the software, or at very least, it shouldn't. And if it does, well, then you're not a 3D artist, then you're a Blender artist or a Maya artist. If you're a 3D artist, it doesn't matter what software you use, you just want to do 3D.
And there is a compliment for you saying that Chelva sounds like a true artist.
Well, I'm wearing my overalls, so I should. So yeah, even though there was a lot of time for help, it actually went fairly quickly today. We can go a little bit off script and do some more things, or we can answer questions about 3DDA or other.
I have a question. When you give it a subdivision
Yes.
thingamajigmabob, when it shows the outliner of the original.
Yes.
How do you remove that?
That's because you're in edit mode.
Oh, it always shows it in edit
Yes.
mode?
I think you can turn it off. Yeah, you can. So there's these two small circles. Shift-Alt-C. Shift-Alt-Z for non-Americans. Yeah. Maybe a cool little thing to show here. If we do have this subdivision surface, things do actually change with it procedurally. So this is when you can really do your H.R. Geiger stuff. If you want, now my barrel has a tongue. It's great fun. Yeah, all 3D artists are really immature. I have not met an animator yet that gets a character that they need to animate, and the first thing they do will always be grabbing the pelvis and then having them move it back and forth in a suggestive manner. It's the first thing animators do, and it's... I don't know. Maybe it's just something with this field of study, but it's a thing. I see Mito, our resident animator, is laughing at that.
No, I wasn't laughing. Oh, wait, I do want to laugh at something, but I wasn't listening. What did you say?
When you get a rig, the first thing you do is you grab the pelvis and you make it move back and forth in a suggestive manner.
Yeah, probably.
It is a universal thing. So yeah. Whoop. So yeah, this is the basis. So we've spent an hour on this, and we've made a decent barrel. The more time you spend on these things, the better they will get. The more you're like, oh, I want to add a little bit of detail there, I want to add a little bit of detail there, it's going to get better and better and better. We could, if we wanted to, and maybe we do want to, we could go in and add planks to this. So I am just going to remove my modifier. So if you want to remove the modifier, you can just go out here in your modifier tab and click the little X next to it. This will just delete it. We can always add it again later if we want to. Let me move it there. Here we go. So if I want to add boards to this, for example, I can select the inside here and then go to the bottom and select the corresponding inside on the other side, or on the bottom of it, while holding down Control. What this will do is it will select the shortest path between two faces. Tab. There you go. Yeah. And now with this selected, I can just extrude it out. You can see that will add like a bored feeling. Not bored as in I don't want to do this anymore, but a board as in the plank that goes there. And the more of these we add, the better it will look. You could also do this individually, but then you're going to have a lot more time trying to figure out the top and the lid and things like that. But this works. You get a nice sharp edge. We still have things smooth together. And once we start, if we go back in and add the subdivision surface, these are going to be flat and actually be boards. So it is completely up to you how much or how little you want to do to this. The more you do to it, the better it will get. Yeah. All right, so 1 hour and 7 minutes. Yeah, so should we take any industry stuff like that questions? I got questions. Oh yeah, so next week we're going to be touching on one of my favorite subjects and always a crowd pleaser, which is sculpting. That is working with digital clay to create anything we really want. And we're going to be working in the program called ZBrush Core Mini. And ZBrush Core Mini is a free little version of the full program ZBrush that we teach in here, and that is industry standard for sculpting biological creatures and such. And we will be doing a dragon, because I like dragons, because I'm a giant nerd and it's great. And I'll be basing it on 2 different creatures. We could take suggestions to that. What creatures should we make a dragon out of next week? That's also for you guys here. So if I wanted to select one board, I would select the inside of it in face mode. There you go. Boop. And then select the corresponding one on the bottom, but holding down Control. This will select the shortest path to that face. So here you go. So select one on the inside and then Control select the one on the top. This will select the shortest path. It can be difficult with the subdivision surface on because that will sort of hide what it is you've selected. So there's a little cross next to it at the top there. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So the comment section is going wild with the sculpting ideas.
Yeah, bring it on. Sculpting's amazing.
First, someone said they love dragons too, which is nice. And Sarah suggested a chicken as the
okay. Yeah, let's do a chicken.
Or a space marine, a goat, an otter, a seahorse.
We've done otter and goat before. Seahorse and chicken could be interesting.
Guinea pig.
What do make a dragon out of? What do dragon do? So I like chicken and then seahorse. But otter and goat we've done before. It's gonna be difficult in ZBrush Core Mini, but yeah.
Staying with the chat, we have also someone saying that they're excited for next week and they cast a fireball. I think dodge that one if you can. Marine Drogos will be neat. Then we have a question, which is, do the next meetings will be connected to previous ones? For example, do I have to have files from shading to do rendering or animation?
No. So, while there is progression in 3D Bootcamp, it's not necessary to be at the first one to be at the next one. It will just help you because they'll be spent less time. So next week is a different software, so Blender won't really matter too much. But the week after that will be shading, and having some of the hotkeys and navigation things from this time, because it will spend more time on it, is sort of a help and easier to then get into shading and rendering, or yeah, shading and rendering properly. While we will provide you with, I don't know, an axe to texture and shade and render. And for the animation, you will be given a rig that is ready for animation of a barrel. And we're gonna make it jump.
Our moderator, by the way, has an idea here.
No, I control selected one and then control selected the other one. That will select the shortest path between them.
Our moderator's thinking to make a poll.
Yes. Oh, for the animals?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Would that be okay with you? We take all the suggestions and we make them into a poll.
As long as you also take people into account that are here.
So people who are physically here, any ideas for what to make the dragon from in sculpting? Octopus? Nice. Okay. Oh, that's going to be difficult.
No.
No?
No, it's
fine,
amazing.
no problem.
Amorphous creatures in ZBrush is just amazing because it's never going to look wrong.
A panda.
A panda.
A cute and cuddly dragon panda.
No, we're doing two. So it's a combination, of two creatures. So we do octopus and panda. That's not bad.
Octopus panda.
Octopus and panda. I like chicken.
Any other suggestions?
And then something else?
For creatures? No?
A lizard.
A cat?
Lizard and cat is also good.
There's too many options.
So they based Toothless
okay.
from How to Train Your Dragon on cats. But that was only for the first one. Then for the second one, they actually based him on dogs.
I don't know what a salmon snake is, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's really interesting because you see. So it's kind of weird. So for How to Train Your Dragon 1, they based all of Toothless movements on a cat. But then for How to Train Your Dragon 2, because Toothless now had grown up and matured more, they based his movement on dogs.
So we have also a couple of questions for you, Jelfe.
Yeah,
one
of course.
where was the one? Where'd it go? Is Blender any good for sculpting?
It's okay. So here's the thing. Blender is good at everything it does, especially because of the price tag.
Somebody was asking, wait, close the poll again, let me just see. Somebody was asking regarding, is there any way to convert the 2.70 Blender interface to look like the one you're currently using?
You can update for free. I would 2.0 Blender interface? That's 10 years ago or something like that.
Well, you know, don't fix it, it ain't broke.
It clearly was. But yeah, all right.
Also, somebody was asking if ZBrush is still worth buying and learning, since I hear Blender is slowly taking over the industry.
It's not. So that's a sad thing. So Blender is what's called a DCC, a digital content creator. So that means it's a generalist program. It can do everything, but there are specialist programs out there that will always be better. ZBrush is a specialist sculpting tool, which will always be better than Blender's sculpting tool, because it can sort of do other things, but it can mainly only do sculpting and will therefore always be better at sculpting. Same way programs like Quixel Mixer, Substance Painter, Armor Painter will always be better at shading and texturing than Blender will. But Blender can do everything at the same time, which is really nice to just stay inside one software, but it cannot compete with specialist programs in their fields. With regards to is ZBrush worth buying? That's a difficult one because they just got bought up by a different company, and it's too early to tell if it will stay alive in its current form.
still so good.
It's still the best sculpting software out there.
Our moderators ended our poll. On third place, we had a octopus,
I like Octopus.
30% of votes. Second place, chicken with 32% of votes.
Oh.
And the winner with 35% of votes, seahorse.
So seahorse and then chicken.
Yeah, sure.
We're doing seahorse chicken dragon next week. Yeah, it's gonna be weird.
Do we have any other questions or anything else that you guys would like to ask? Or
Do you
know
guys
about?
have any questions? Yes. Light? Oh, yeah. So when we smoothed faces, so I've been asked a question. I was talking about light and somebody didn't quite catch it. So I'll just reiterate it because, yeah. So we have shade flat and shade smooth inside Blender. And what shade flat does is each face will project or will reflect light on its own and project it based on itself. It won't project it based on anything else. When we shade smooth, the faces look at their neighbor and go, we should reflect light together. And then it tries to make it seem round without being round. So this is still a octagon, but when we tell it to shade smooth, it will try and smooth out. It'll try to smooth out the faces between each other. Yeah.
What's called cheat sheets to some of the shortcuts?
So I don't, because they weren't made when I learned Blender. But they do exist now. I know Blender Guru has a PDF that you can get that is a little too comprehensive, in my opinion. There is a really good infographic swirling around out there that I don't know who made. But you can likely find that by Googling Blender cheat sheets. I would suggest using the search function because it does tell you it, and at some point you're going to get tired of typing in whatever command it is you want 10 times, and then you're going to look at the shortcut and start getting used to using that. So it's also a practice thing. The more you use it, the more your fingers are at it, you'll get better at it. Yeah. All right, any more questions from the room? If not, then I have a quick send off for the people online. Remember, you can get physical help from our guest teachers here at CADA TrueMax if you come in physically for our bootcamps. And with that, if there are no more questions, I know you guys are 10 seconds behind, I think we'll sign off and then just have a pleasant chat here in the room. Oh, Mito wants to show his face.
I'm famous.
Yeah.
Could they actually see that? I don't know if they can see it, but yeah. This is where you introduced me.
This is Mito. He is my faithful assistant since we started Bootcamp, and one of my favorite students.
What a stop!
Yeah, but I say that about all students.
Oh shit!
I legally have to.
And I used to be co-host.
Yeah, you used to be co-host. All right. Well, nothing else. Then goodbye for now, everybody online. I will see you next week. It's gonna